Welcome to a nourishing midweek lunch hour conversation with Spokane's newsmakers, thought leaders, and popular entertainers. Spokane Talks Live is brought to you by our friends at Homes for You and Breakthrough Incorporated. Welcome to Spokane Talks Live. Welcome to Spokane Talks Live. Kent Adams here today, and as we do every so often, we try not to do it too often, but every so often we invite friends on here to be co-hosting. And actually, this is kind of a crazy week because I've got a friend here who's going to co-host today, and another friend, our anchor for and reporter for Youth Spotlight, Colin Pittman, tomorrow will actually be taking over the whole 35 minutes. Scary, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, Chris Patterson is here. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And we get to talk with people like Michael Cathcart and Larry Myers and a few other things about what's going on in Spokane today. And speaking of our guests, we will have Larry Myers from River Ridge Hardware. In case you hadn't noticed, and don't keep track of this by the weather necessarily, because we do have a few days here and there of actual springtime, even though the calendar has clicked into spring. We're going to talk about taking care of our house and yard and everything else as we move into springtime, and following that will be summer. Wonder what kind of summer we'll have. Michael Cathcart from Better Spokane and a STO contributor is here, and we're going to just have kind of a great conversation today, if I can talk. Next on Spokane Talks Live. We're live.
For the Inland Northwest's most comprehensive sports report, think outside the porch with spokesman.com. For just 99 cents for the first month, you'll enjoy unlimited digital access to the news and sports news that affect you most. From EWU to WSU, from Northwest Preps all the way to the Seahawks, we're the local authority that makes sports in the Inland Northwest different than the rest, better than the rest. On your phone, on your desktop, and on your tablet. Subscribe to the digital experience with spokesman.com.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Welcome back to Spokane Talks Live, and we're kind of laughing and chuckling about things we see on the internet during the commercial break. But we're going to have a little fun and a great conversation today. Chris, let's start with you. We'll get to our guest in a minute, right?
That's all right.
Yeah. And how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You've been busy.
I have.
Yeah. How are things going over in the Tacoma side of things? Linwood, okay.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's,
First of all, what is it? We probably should describe what it is.
It's a business that my wife and I and some partners have bought into. It's a franchise called Phoenix Salon Suites.
Uh-huh.
So it promotes professional entrepreneurship where you create your own business, get your environment. So we built the environment to house the talents that want to rent the suites from us. So whether it's estheticians, tattooists, Botox, you name it, all the licensed individuals in the market, and it's a really cool program. It's a really cool model to use. It's catching on. I think it's going to be just a little over 200 locations across the country pretty soon.
Okay.
So it's something that's pretty cool.
But you and your wife have been over there often as you get opened up. You opened up technically what, a couple
October
months?
1st.
October, okay. Okay, I'm trying to remember all the dates and things. And then there's the holidays and so forth. So, yeah. Are you pleased with the progress so far?
It's been awesome. Daylene's been the one that's been doing it. It's not me. Right. She's pretty much been the anchor, done a phenomenal job. I know that she heads over this Friday again.
Okay.
It's cool meeting different personalities, different talents, different traits that people bring.
Well, and both of you have got to feel, and your other partners too, feel good about giving opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities for people to own their own little room and everything else that goes with that. Yeah. Because that's really the name of the game. It is. How many of us want to own? How many of us want to own our own businesses? And welcome to the challenges that
we try to show them to just take the little fear out.
Yeah.
Owning your business, it does come with some risks and some
Of course.
fears that people are afraid to take that first leap.
Right.
And I think once you do it, it gets easier. It's not near as scary.
Okay.
Once you start, paying your own bills, writing your own checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it becomes an adventure after you start to realize how to become more successful with your business.
Well, good. Michael Cathcart, Better Spokane.
Yeah.
I guess we're better off today because the city council did not have a meeting yesterday. How's that for a lead-in?
Always a good thing, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But then will they catch up next week? What is going on? Let's talk about a few of the things going on.
Sure.
And we've had a couple of the candidates in for the 6th district.
Sure.
With Jeff Holy leaving the position to run for senator in the 6th district, has opened up a spot, and we had Jenny in last week. What else is going on in those races? Because there are really 3 of them.
Yeah.
Mike Volz and the old Jeff Holy spot, and then Mike Baumgartner's spot that Jeff is now applied for, if you will.
Right. Well, like you said, Representative Holy is now running for the state Senate seat.
Right.
The open seat, which is his current position, it currently has 3 candidates running in that race.
Right.
Jenny Graham, who you mentioned.
Right.
Dave Wilson, the former independent, now apparently a Democrat.
I kind of talked about that
Yeah.
last week. Like, what label does he have this
Right.
Political season? He has a right to change, but come on, you either are or you aren't something.
Well, and the argument he gave is, well, because of Donald Trump, I decided I had to be a Democrat. And I can understand maybe if you're a Republican, you don't like Trump and you leave the party, but he was already an independent. I don't really see how that makes any
Perhaps
sense.
he ought to watch some of the national polls because Trump is starting to do quite well, actually.
Yeah,
So
latest Rasmussen poll had him in a pretty good spot.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, come on, you can complain all you want about things. What else is going on?
Well, there's a third candidate.
Okay,
I'll just mention real
that's
quick.
Where I was going. I forgot. Thanks.
There's a third candidate just announced. His name, and I might be butchering this. I'm not sure. I think it's Rion Amitu.
Okay.
And he's a transplant from the west side of the state. Just recently moved here less than 2 years ago. In fact, he was a 10th congressional delegate for Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And the 10th congressional is over on the coast. He was in the Pierce, kind of Puyallup, part of the state over there. So he's a transplant from there. He's decided to run apparently for office, and based on some of his views that he's put out there, I would say he's in the very liberal column in that race.
Well, that would kind of tell me just by the mention of Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Yes. Some of us, haven't completely lost it all up here. Speaking of that race, there's been some discussion in the past 2 months or so about Rich Cowan running, whether he will or not. And I can tell you that I talked to him yesterday, and he does not plan to run.
Oh, so he is officially out.
Officially out, yes.
Interesting.
And I've known him for a long time, and I think I may have mentioned in the past when I worked at then Water Power, I was the fellow who gave them, meaning North by Northwest, their very first check, so they could form a company and do some work for us at that time. So I've known him for a long time. Just top-notch, decent fella. And one of the things he said was, we've got major projects going on. I'd like to say I can step back from the business, but a couple hundred people rely on my keeping the company going. And you know what that's like. Yeah. You can't step away for too long. I mean, you had opportunities. And to step away, what do you do to other people and their lives and so forth? Plus, he reiterated yesterday in the phone call that one of his objectives is to build a studio probably out on the West Plains, and which is something he's talked about doing for a number of years. He needs that. They North by Northwest need that next TV series locked in. Yeah. So they've got at least the 2 going, and then they know they can afford to build the studio and so forth. And so that's really, I think, going to be a lot of his priority the next couple of years. He's 10 years behind me, I think 62, something like that. And I said, you've still got, down the road if you want to sit back, but, get the business stuff done, because it's hard to get someone else to come in and do that for you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, hey, for your viewers, they just got the scoop.
Of course, they get it here. They
make
get
sure
it here.
You're watching Spokane Talks Online.
We try to do that every so often. And speaking of businesses, Chris, you have 100 and some employees?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a lot to manage. It's a lot to. I know you do a good job of sending the responsibilities down to your management staff and others, but that's a lot of people to be responsible for.
It's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
It's definitely when you take a leap of faith and you hope that the people underneath are doing what their job is expected to do, especially in the environment that I work in.
Yeah. And explain what that is, because I'm not sure all the audience understands what you do, which is a wonderful service in our community.
So our other business is Breakthrough Incorporated, and we work with kids that are autistic, schizophrenia, dual diagnosed, bipolar, Down syndrome, co-occurring disorders, and conduct disorders, as well as level 1 registered sex offenders. So we work with the kids 24 hours a day, 365 days a week.
Talk about responsibility.
Yeah, the kids are fun. I mean, you know why the kids are there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fun to see success happen and things change for them, and they start to grow and they start to mature and make better choices.
Right. Michael, how about a little bit of a political update? What's going on in the Spokane area here? Spokane City specifically.
Spokane City, you know, there's not a whole lot. The city races are 2019, so we've still got quite a bit of time.
Okay.
I think everybody.
We don't want to speculate out loud who some of those candidates might be.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to see. I think we can definitely.
I'm doing this, audience, because he and I both know some of who they might be, but we're not about to talk about it out loud, are we?
I think everybody sort of assumes that you know, the on again, off again mayoral candidate's probably back on again, and that's Council President Ben Stuckert.
Right.
So.
I'm assuming that. I'm talking about maybe some that aren't quite so obvious that might be coming down.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to speculate at this point. I think there's a lot of time between now and then.
Look at him squirm a little. I'm not going to ask you to say anything, but we want to hear it first, okay? Here.
Well, I'll be sure to come back and let you know when I know
And I'll talk
something.
to that person too.
Yeah.
Okay. That person is on my
or
list.
Or persons.
Persons. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, we can have more than one, Ron?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. That might be good. So yes, we are. There will be the council president and the mayor. Both will be up.
Yep.
Well, there'll probably be a couple of city council races too.
Yeah, there'll be 5 seats. So you've got mayor, council president. Mike Fagan is termed out, so his seat will be open. District 2, Lori Kinnear will have to run for re-election, and in District 3, Karen Stratton will have to run for re-election.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I always have found it interesting that Mike Fagan is from the district he is, being fairly conservative in a district that you really don't expect to see that.
You know what's interesting? District 1 is kind of one of those places that can go all different kinds of directions. It just really depends on the candidate themselves. You know, when Mike ran the first time, he lost by a pretty good number to Amber Waldriff, and then came back 2 years later and won by a decent percentage himself. So it's really all about the campaign, the person, you know, how you're getting your message out, because District 1 has the fewest number of registered voters and the fewest number of actual voters.
Really?
In all 3 districts.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about since the race last fall is it really comes down to doorbelling.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can talk about putting in all the money, and it takes money to run a campaign. I get that. But it really does come down to knocking on the door and saying, "Hi, Chris, I'm running for office, and let's sit down and talk," because the people get a better and a more honest feel than they're going to get in a 30-second TV spot.
If I meet with somebody who's thinking about running for office, one of the very first questions I ask is, well, how much time do you plan to spend doorbelling?
Right.
You know, I mean, you got to raise money and you got to put time into that. But if you're not spending, 3, 4, 5 hours a day knocking on doors, why are you bothering?
Let's talk about, while we still have a couple of seconds here, let's talk about the what's coming up this year. Any other races that we should be watching? Any other candidates jumping in?
Nobody's announcing yet, but of course you got 2 county commissioner races.
Okay.
One has Republican versus Republican primary, no Democrat opponent yet.
Okay.
And that's Mary Cooney and Rob Chase.
Okay.
Mary is the appointed incumbent, and then Rob is the current treasurer. And then Al French is up, and nobody is yet to
We haven't heard anything
announce.
about any opposition from either parties, if you will.
Kind of the talk of the town, I guess, is that there's a lot of emphasis being put on the congressional race, and so
a lot of emphasis and a lot of money.
Oh, I'm certain.
I think when you combine the two, we're going to see close to $5 to $6 million campaign.
It'll probably be the most expensive congressional by far that we've seen. So,
and someone was complaining, and I'm going, yeah, but that's not bad for the economy either, because whether we like it or not, a lot of the money does come from outside the area too.
It comes in from outside. It trickles down.
I mean, for both candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you know, you can point to the other candidate and say, look at all the money that comes from outside of Spokane and the eastern Washington and all that. The fact is, today you can't win a race like that without outside money. Sure. It's just a fact. It's that expensive, you know.
It is.
So, Chris, are you going to announce today any runs for anything? Now that we've talked about you can go broke doing it?
Yeah. I'm sure Mike will be the first person I talk to.
Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else before we break here that we should be covering?
Well, I think if folks don't know, you know, maybe we can talk a little about the county commissioner bill that was passed in the legislature.
Yes, okay, yes.
The governor just signed it last week, and I think maybe I take a slightly different view on this. I think in some ways it's a good thing, and in some ways, you know, I hate to see the legislature kind of use its heavy hand to tell counties what to do. But I was one who supported going to 5 when it was on the ballot. I think it makes sense.
I do too.
For two commissioners to not be able to really have a conversation about policy, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
And
it puts them in too many awkward positions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think going to 5 makes a lot of sense. And one of the good things about the final version of this bill is that, you know, Senator Baumgartner got involved, Jeff Holdy got involved, a few others, and they were able to make sure that there's a redistricting committee that's fair, that's part of this process. That wasn't in the original draft.
Okay, so really protecting Spokane.
Yeah, protecting Spokane, making sure the districting is done fairly and appropriately. You know, at the state level, they have a system in place that's very fair. It's one of the best in the country. And you have 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and a non-voting chair. Okay. And 3 of the 4 have to agree. Okay. And it's going to be similar to that at the local level for creating these boundaries. So it makes a lot of sense. It's good. It's fair. And there will be some minor costs. You know, of course, you got more salary for those new commissioners, their assistants, and probably some construction costs to add.
So maybe
office
$300,000 to
space.
$500,000 a year.
Yeah, probably $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and then probably a one-time of a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
But so there'll be some expense to it, but I think we'll have, in the end, ultimately, we'll have a little bit better representation. And I think, quite frankly, we'll hopefully have more collaboration amongst the commissioners.
Well, if you're a Democrat right now, you're going, I'm left out because it's all 3 Republicans. We've seen it 3 Democrats. I mean, welcome to the world. And even if it's 3-2, at least you've got some voices going on in the decision-making process. Whether you always agree with that or not is a whole other thing. I think more of the collaborative discussion and even some arguments is not a bad thing if we're going to, you know, if we're going to make that sausage and see it come together like it should.
Absolutely, completely agree. And this bill is going to take effect in 2022. Redistricting will, I think, start in 2020 after the census is completed. There is still a chance that the county could sue to try and stop it or overturn it. I'm not sure if that's going to happen yet or not. The commissioners will be debating that, but so there's still a lot of time before this goes into effect. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Good.
But we could have a number of extra commissioners on the ballot come 2022 to be voted on.
Wow, and that's, you know, that seems like it's so far off, but it's not.
It's not.
It really isn't.
Right around the corner.
No, I know. There'll be people lining up already. I mean, you know, well, they're calling in now to tell us they're running. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I can think of a couple who are probably already lining up. So.
Oh, can you? You didn't want to spill who they are? No, you don't.
Well, maybe the sponsor of the bill, a certain 3rd district representative. We'll see. But.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. And you're right. That probably would be maybe the next step for that person.
Possibly,
too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, great. I love the conversation because you guys are both so involved in what's going on in the community. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about spring around your house right after this.
Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy, enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
find the right home for you, you'll work with your realtor to compare the properties you're interested in, analyze the market, and figure out a reasonable offer price. And now, here you are, ready to make an offer. Yay, you! Here's how it works. First, you'll complete an offer sheet which your realtor will then present to the owner. Sometimes, a nice note to the owner can help your offer stand out. Butter them up. Tell them how much you love their garden, that it reminds you of gardening with your grandmother as a child. Do not mention you're gonna bulldoze it and put in a pool. The owner may accept the offer, reject it, or counter. It's important to be in close contact with your realtor during the negotiation process so any changes can be reviewed. Your realtor is like your consigliere, and that makes you the Don. Once your offer is finally accepted, there are usually some contingencies that must be met in order to keep the contract alive. Inspections are totally common in real estate transactions. They include termite checks, surveys to determine boundaries, appraisals to determine value for lenders, title reviews, and structural inspections. This stuff is mind-numbingly fascinating. But you know what's even more fascinating? Actually getting your new house.
Welcome back to Spokane Talks Live, and we continue with Kent's friends this morning. Chris Patterson, how are you doing? You surviving? You know, just feel free to jump in. Like I can stop you from this far over.
Well, you said
anyway.
Kent's friends, so I'm wondering where they're at.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll include you. Gosh. Cross him off the list for invite next time. I'm kidding. And Larry Myers, owner and entrepreneur of River Ridge Hardware in the Shadle area.
It's a long.
It is. I had to stop and think about that, and maybe it's just my age or whatever. You took over this what now? A couple years.
It's a year now. I had
a year
anniversary March 1st.
Wow!
Congratulations!
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're still showing up most days.
Still here? Yeah.
You know, the one thing I hear about that business up there from folks when I mention, hey, you know, they're one of our sponsors and all that is, oh my gosh, they've got such great service. Their people know what they're talking about. And you don't hear that at all hardware stores around town, do you?
No, and that's something I, refocused on, and at every employee meeting we have, we talk about that. And, you have to greet with a smile, grab people as they're coming through the door. It works.
Grab their wallet first, right?
Right. It works really well in a multitude of ways.
Yeah.
One, just helping the customer, and two, it also helps in security because
you know who's in there.
Yeah, and you know what they're doing in there, and you're helping them out in the store. And
you bring up something that's quite interesting. I don't think about it because we have a secure building here and everything else, but you've just got people coming in from off the street. How much time and energy do you have to spend worrying about and taking care of security in a retail business like that?
Well, it should be part of your overall plan. Otherwise,
it gets away from you.
I think you wake up like any business and say, I didn't sell that, but I don't have it.
Yeah.
And so
I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
No.
Yeah.
And I just I've been thinking about having like a head shot of through the cameras of people who have walked out with stuff and having it up front of the till just to remind other good customers of, hey, if you run into this person, you might want to stay away from them.
And they're stealing from you as a customer too, because it's not just you. You have to pass the cost on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of business. Everyone thinks, well, the insurance or the city regulation or whatever it may be is just the cost of doing business. But where do those costs have to come from? They have to come from selling service or products or something like that.
But realistically, 99.9 percent of our customers are good customers, and truly all my guys want to help them, and they're all very knowledgeable in their own right, in a multitude of ways. So that's the fun part. That's what probably what I enjoy about the business the most.
Do you learn a lot just by watching what your guys are doing and stuff too?
I do.
mean, their knowledge?
Yeah, daily. I mean, I got guys that literally could pick into any lock you have with under 30 seconds or less.
Yeah.
From rekeying keys to mixing paint to the specific color that you ever wanted.
And do you get a little nervous thinking that someone may have you do that?
Well, I do it and I learn it. Yeah. It's
It's
fun. I've learned. I learned a ton coming in. I knew a lot coming over, but I've learned so much daily. Yeah. From just basic stuff of cutting keys.
Okay.
To mixing paint to, I know enough to be dangerous on plumbing, on electrical. Sprinklers I used to do as a kid, so that comes natural. I worked probably 3 or 4 years for a sprinkler outfit when I was young, and so again that comes natural, and I know what to do, what not to do, and so that's the fun parts. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. The biggest things, like I said before, I think I just never understood how dependent on weather a hardware store is.
Yeah.
So we will double in business on a sunny day versus a rainy, cold day.
So you can blame your ups and downs of businesses on like Leslie Lowe and others in town, can't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're gonna have to Leslie. I'm gonna have to talk to you about this.
Right.
Yeah. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. But and speaking of weather, theoretically, according to the calendar, we're in spring.
Right.
Where does that fit with what you're doing right now and anticipate doing? Because I looked at the weather this morning. We're going to get some rain in the next couple of days.
Right.
That'll slow things down, right?
It will. It'll help us kind of get product out. We're bulging, and you're going to see a lot of new, cool stuff at the store. Our garden is just coming alive. I've gotten some new plants. I have some more coming probably towards the end of the week. Some more coming the following week. By the end of the month, we'll have hanging baskets all in bloom.
Wow.
We have a lot of cool right now garden art through the wind blowing.
Oh, okay, sure.
Sculptures and chimes and a lot of real cool things. I got some huge pots that are
So do I, but that's a whole other issue.
Exactly. Some cool stuff out there. So yeah.
I could ask this. What's the number one thing people come in and ask for these days?
Or
the top 2 or 3
in the store in general.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would probably say plumbing and sprinklers are the biggest. I ran over my sprinkler with my snowblower, and I'm trying to
turn it back on now.
Yeah. So those become the biggest ones. Or, my kid. I had to laugh. I had a young. He was probably 3 or 4, but his dad was with him, and his dad made him pull out of his own wallet and pay for a toilet ring because the kid had flushed an apple down the toilet. And Dad had to pull the toilet off, and he had done it before, and he told him if he did it again that he was paying for the ring. So he had to pull out $5 out of his own wallet.
That's funny.
That's
good
There's
learning.
a lesson there, though, isn't there?
But yeah, plumbing and sprinklers are probably the biggest during this time.
Because we all think, well, not all, count me out, think we can fix those things too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then our rental department's really starting to hop from aerators to power rakes.
Okay.
So those go out.
I hadn't even thought about that, but people can rent things like that, can't they?
Oh, yeah. Our rental department is, it's a twofold thing. It brings people into the store. It allows them to kind of, again, be their do-it-yourselfer.
Right.
And they come in and rent a power rake for 2 hours. Usually a power rake only takes you about the same amount of time it does to mow your lawn.
Okay.
It's just all the pickup afterwards that takes a little bit of time. So that's where you hope you have a 16 to an 18-year-old.
I was just going to go there. Do you get your daughter out there to do things?
She does.
She does.
She's 10. She tries to help.
Is she 10?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Amazing how they just are starting to grow up.
They do.
Yeah. Now you've got kids and grandkids.
I have 2 girls. No grandkids yet.
No grandkids yet. Okay.
No, my oldest.
I didn't want to push it. Yeah.
My oldest is just in her last quarter of law school.
Right.
And my youngest is in her last quarter of psychology. So
oh boy,
got both sectors of there.
Wow.
Do I sue somebody or am I crazy?
Well, maybe both. But you've got it. But you've got it covered. Right. Wow. So then when you look at what they're going to be doing in life, maybe running a hardware store might not be so bad. It might be a little more comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know.
No.
In 20 years, they might think it's fun.
Yeah. So what can people expect to see this weekend? Any specials or anything you can tell folks?
Yeah, we actually are starting the 6th. We have a paint sale starting.
Okay.
Buy a gallon of paint. Of course, any color you want, and get another gallon for $5.
Okay,
so that's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, it is.
We have some flyer specials out there that are flowing around with. Oh gosh, I think I have a rake on sale for $6. So I got all kinds of stuff on sale, and we have weed and feed out there on sale, and then you'll see our normal plants and garden area just busting. So
yeah.
It's kind of fun.
You're going to join Clyde. He's coming back from California in a couple of weeks. You may not even know this yet, but he's going to invite you on the House to Home program to talk.
Okay, fantastic.
And one of the things that he has talked about over the years is when to do your lawn and put things down. And he talks about the major holidays.
Okay, yeah.
And we just passed
good
Easter.
Reminders, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time to take care of those kinds of things because you all know when the major holidays are.
Exactly.
And so as we just finished, and there are a lot of people who probably didn't get it done because I think Easter was a little bit early.
Yep.
It
sure seemed like it. I think I'm still recovering from the daylight savings time.
Oh, gosh. Well, let's not even go there, okay?
Everybody is.
Yeah. Why? Wasn't that Ben Franklin? Wasn't he the one that suggested that? And then he goes and dies on us.
I know.
So we can't. Who's going to blame him anymore? But anyway, so still good time, isn't it, to come get all of that?
Oh yeah, great time. In fact, aerating, like I said, aerating to power raking. A lot of times, especially if you've had an older lawn, if you haven't aerated it in yearly, you should be, because it puts the plugs out, spreads out the lawn, aerates it, and if you're starting to see the wormholes, what they're doing is automatically trying to help you, but they're telling you that your lawn needs to be aerated.
Okay, so you've obviously driven by my lawn this morning. Thanks for pointing that out, everybody. It's like last time we did a segment years ago on cleaning out your rain gutters.
Oh yeah.
And Clyde's up on the ladder, using my rain gutter as the poorest example he could find in Spokane, with little trees growing out and everything else. And do you think he reminds me of it every year? You're darn tootin' he does.
There you
go.
go.
He's back from Palm Springs here in about 2 weeks, and so we'll be back doing that. So you're on the list to call. I know that for sure. So, well, thank you. Let's tell people where you are and how they can find you.
2803.
You just drive there. You don't worry about an address, do you?
2803 West Garland, on the corner of Garland and Driscoll.
Okay.
In the 99205. We're just just east of the VA hospital, down Garland.
Okay.
And just west of Ash and Maple.
Yeah. Great.
So it's in a nice corner there, and
good.
You'll see the fence that has all their garden plants hanging out, and
more go out in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we even have fountains. That's one thing.
Oh, don't tell my wife. Oh, don't tell my wife. She'll be in there tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, actually, I'm selling. We always have had a fountain, a big one, in the garden center, and I'm actually designing it so I can sell the whole thing, where you could buy all the bits and pieces to make that exact fountain.
Wow. Okay.
We're just not putting it in for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Extra fee.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll guide somebody there.
Yeah. All right. Well, Larry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris, good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Shall we do lunch today?
We should.
Okay. All right. That's already scheduled. Just inside joke. Good to see both of you. Thank you. And
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow. Well, actually, Colin will see you tomorrow when he hosts live tomorrow, Wednesday, on the 4th. Have a good day.
Spokane Talks Live is produced in Spokane, Washington by Spokane Talks Online LLC, which is solely responsible for its content. To recommend a guest or topic, or to see this program again, please visit our website, SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Spokane Talks Live is brought to you by our friends at Homes for You and Breakthrough Incorporated. Join us next Wednesday, noon, for another nourishing conversation on Spokane Talks Live.